webinar today, which is going to be a live teardown and 10 proven tactics for turning your website into a lead generating asset. Man, that is a long title. That's the hardest part done. Thanks for coming along today. We'll get started in just a minute, but do a bit of housekeeping in just a second. But keen to know where you're dialing in from. Let me know in the chat, and then I can know the chat's working as well. If you type that in where you're dialing in from, that would be great. I'm in the South Island of New Zealand in a little town called Wanaka, enjoying a really nice summer here. So that has been good. Hope for you, if anyone's in the Northern Hemisphere, it's not been too cold. But let me know where you're dialing in from. That would be awesome in the chat. And we can test if that's working as well. So a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. The session is going to be recorded, so we'll send that out as an email afterwards, and there's going to be some good resources and links and things like that in there as well. And if you have any problems, we've got Anthea from the BizInc team on the session as well. Use the Q&A or the chat to just get in touch with her, and she'll be able to help you out. Morning, Paula in Adelaide. Thanks for getting up a little bit early to come and join this. Anthea's over in Brisbane, so yeah, we usually have people coming in from all over the world on these sessions. All right, look, let's get into it. We've got a lot to cover, and just do a quick introduction before we get into the main session. So my name is Matt Wilkinson, and I'm the founder and CEO of a company called BizInc, and we help accountants and bookkeepers with websites and marketing. And in the last decade, we've helped over 2,000 firms. So we've learned a lot of the good, the bad, and the ugly of what goes into lead generating websites. And a little picture of what I used to do for fun before I had kids was climb mountains and frozen waterfalls like that. But unfortunately, that seems to have gone by the wayside since I've started a family. All right, let's get into it. So agenda for today is we're going to look at why do you even have a website in the first place? It's going to be one of the things we're going to look at. The reasons most firms don't get website leads, so I'll just briefly touch on that. And then the core of this is going to be looking at 10 tactics, like really proven tactics that we've seen over the years and working with literally thousands of firms of what makes their website get more leads for them. I'm going to wrap up with a live teardown of pilot.com, which is a really, it's a pretty big bookkeeping website. If you've not heard of it, based in the States, made a lot of noise when they got investment from Jeff Bezos of Amazon. And we're going to have a look at their website because I think it's a really good example of a lot of things that we're going to talk about. And then we're going to give you a chance to get your website audited for free, and then obviously answer your questions at the end. Now, doesn't have to be at the end, right? Like if you've got any questions before then, feel free to fire them into the Q&A panel or the chat. I'll either answer them as we go along. Anthony might chime in and ask them. So if there's anything relevant to what I'm talking about, feel free to ask them. I'll try and cover them off as we go, or we'll definitely save those up for the end. All right, so just want to show you this, which is a framework that we've created for looking at firms' marketing. So like I say, we've worked with over 2,000 firms in the last decade, and we found that this framework is what really drives marketing, right? And like no one is doing all of these things at the same time. So there's 5 stages: planning, then attracting leads, engaging them, converting them, and retaining them. So I'd say like no one I've ever met is doing all of these things all at the same time. And even the firms are doing it pretty well. There's always something they could enhance. And what we're going to be talking about today is lead generating websites. And that's really those 3 middle stages, right? Like what attract. So what are the things that get people to your website or get strangers to know about you? Engage. And once they know about you, how do you get them to like you, to trust you? We can also talk about that as nurturing. And then conversion. What's that piece where, okay, if they like you and trust you, how do you actually turn them into paying clients? And all of those things can happen on your firm's website. Now, if you want to have a bit of a deeper dive into this kind of framework, there's a couple of links Anthony's going to drop in the chat where you can take a scorecard and assess your marketing, and it'll give you some tips. Really easy, takes about, I don't know, like under 3 minutes to do that. It's just kind of multiple choice. And that links off to our playbook where we literally give away all of our marketing resources. So our head of content said to me, like, why are we giving away all this stuff? I think it's pretty awesome that we do that. It's all freely available on that playbook, links in the chat as well. So the reason why I show you that is just to give some kind of, I guess, theoretical background to what we're going to talk today. But really what we're going to look at is really tactical today and stuff I hope you can implement like this week. That's what I'm aiming for. All right, so why even have a website? I think almost every firm has a website in 2023. When I started in this game of working with accountants and bookkeepers in 2010, it's probably about, I don't know, 25% of firms did not have a website, and we still got it from, tend to be some old guy be like, I don't need a website. We've never had a website. We get all our leads from referrals. I think pretty much any decent firm now has a website. And so before we look at lead generating sites, I want to take a look at, we'll just question that. Why do we need a website? Why is it important in the first place? So the main things I'd say is sealing the deal with referrals is the number one, right? So we do a lot of research into firms' marketing, where they get business from, and 85% of firm leads, give or take, come from referrals. And that probably tallies up with your own firm. Now, the thing about referrals is they're usually going to do a little bit of due diligence, right? Before, they get referred from someone they know and trust, get referred to you. What are they going to do? They're going to go and hit up your website. It's probably the thing that almost all leads do. And so that's the first reason to have a website, is just to, I call it sealing the deal with those referrals. True story, the firm in Auckland in New Zealand, I was trying to sell to them, didn't want a website. We don't need a website. We've got plenty of business. So nothing happened. A few months later, I get a panic phone call from the firm owner. She's like, we need to get a website yesterday. And I'm like, okay, what's changed? And she said, well, we got a referral, really good client. It's going to be worth 10 grand a month to us. And they nearly didn't go with us because we didn't have a website. They're a tech company. They saw we didn't have a website. And the only reason they called is because they really trusted the person who referred them. So that illustrated it to me. It seems like a little thing, just have a website that looks okay and all of that. But it's actually huge if it's helping you close what is your main source of leads. So the second thing, this is kind of what we're going to be talking about today. Timing is everything, right? When it comes to marketing and sales, timing is everything. And you'll know this when you're selling to people, when you're trying to, when you're trying to market to potential clients, they're only going to work with you if the timing is right for them. So, you can throw offers in front of them, you can do whatever, but if they're not in the right place to do it, they're not going to engage you. And so what a website can do is those people who they're not now clients, but they're later clients, it can capture that interest. So they might have found your website through social media, through a blog or something like that. And it can capture that interest and nurture that interest and then eventually convert that interest. That's basically what we're going to talk about today. Other things your website can do. So it's like a hub for clients, undervalued thing in terms of what websites can do. Easy way to add value to clients, right? Give them really good content like blogs, resources. We're going to take a look at that later. So you can give them a reason to come back to your site, get some value. And what does that do? Well, look, I think it stops churn. I mean, maybe it doesn't stop it, but it helps with that because, you're looking at customer success and maybe you get some more referrals as well. Happy clients equals more referrals equals more growth. And the final reason, which, we've talked about this a lot in the last kind of year, there's a real talent shortage when it comes to accounting, and a website is a key tool in attracting that top talent. If not attracting it, certainly when they're doing their assessment of who they want to work for, they've got a pick of firms to work for. If your website looks really bad, that's not a good look. It's not going to help. So, those to me are the big reasons why you have a website. But the bit we're going to focus on is that lead generation piece. Now, quick poll before we get into the next bit. Interested to know, do you get leads from your firm's website? So simple question, 3 answers, yes, no, not sure. We always put not sure in because someone who, I did some webinars with a very big company in the States and they said, you've always got to have 3 answers and one of them, it's got to be not sure. So have 3 answers. Well, some people are saying not sure, so that helps. But yeah, I don't really understand the rationale behind that, but I've been told we've always got to do it. Okay, a few more seconds to finish that. Poll will just be on your screen, completely anonymous, just fire those answers in. And interested to see what that comes out as. All right, cool. Let's end that and share the results. So 43% of you do, 43% you don't get leads from your firm's website, and 40% aren't sure. So we surveyed 400 firms in 2019 and 31% said they didn't get any leads from their website. So let's call that a third. Now, that might not actually be true in the sense that I think that part in sealing the deal and referrals, like we just talked about, you know, someone might look at your website, but give you a call. Can you attribute that back to your website? Maybe not, but the website played a role. So, so I don't know if no is always like completely no, but, you know, then what we're talking about here is like people filling out a form or emailing directly from the website. So, but what that shows to me, like on today's poll and the data we've got, is there's a lot of room for improvement. And that's what we're going to look at today. You know, why don't accounting firm websites generate leads? What can we do about that? So the reasons I think a lot of firms' websites don't do well, I'm going to list them out here, right? So the first one is, we're not your average accountant. Now, how many times have I seen that on a firm's website? We're not your average accountant, we're different. And the sites are really average. The firms look really average to me when I see that. So the point I'm trying to make here is a lot of firms, they're really bland firm sites. They're really bland, they're undifferentiated. Someone once said to me, like looking at a load of accountants' websites, it can be a bit of a sea of sameness. Now, the best sites in accounting in any kind of a field have personality, right? Like they stand out, they really stand out, and they're not packed with like marketing speak. We're not your average accountants. What does that actually mean? What does that mean to me as a business owner? I don't really care, you know, what's in it for me? So I think that's the first reason websites, accounting websites underperform is that part. The second part is what I call marketing to everybody is marketing to nobody. So instead of having a really strong appeal to a particular group, or we might call it an ideal client, we're going to look at that in a bit. Most of the sites I see, they have like a really weak appeal to lots of people. So, you know, the best sites are not for everybody, but they have a really strong appeal for who they are for. The next thing that I see failing on a lot of sites is they tell and don't show. So it's kind of like sales 101 is that you show, you don't tell. So, you know, you don't tell people about how good you are, you prove it, right? And one way to do that is testimonial social proof. We're going to look at that. I see a lot of sites that are full of marketing waffle that's kind of, you know, in the realm of we're not average accountants, all that kind of stuff. People want real results and they want to be, the way that online buying works, it's all about social proof. So we're going to have a look at that. Weak calls to action. So, you know, like if you want people to become a lead, you got to make it really easy for them, right? Like, you know, you don't want them to be clicking through loads of menus and filling in forms and all that kind of thing. You want to make it mega easy. So a lot of the sites I see that don't do well, they're just hard to use, you know, and they're not clear about what the action that somebody should take. And the final one, which is almost a kind of extension of that, is they don't have a lead magnet. So we're going to have a look at this in detail, but the best sites give away content to get leads back. So, you know, like this is like an ebook that we do that we give away. You can see on screen, a course, that kind of thing. They're the things that good sites do. They always have like a call to action, which is like a sales one, book a meeting, that kind of thing. And they have one like a lead magnet, and that's for people who are not quite ready to book the sales meeting, but we still want to talk to them. So, that's just kind of like negative stuff. I don't really like to start a webinar with negative stuff. So let's get into some really positive stuff about how you can turn your website into a source of leads for your firm. So we're going to look at 10 tactics, and a quick disclaimer before I do that, like while your website is the center of your firm's marketing world, it is just one component of that, right? It's a massive component, but it's one component. And aside from SEO, search engine optimization, websites don't really just attract traffic, right? Like it's not build it and they will come. So the best firms, high growth firms that do well at marketing, they also put energy into other channels. So things like social media, email marketing, events and webinars to drive quality visitors to their website. And then it's the website's job to turn them into leads. So we often use that phrase, lead generating websites. I kind of don't like it. Actually, I've used it a lot myself, and it's the kind of title of this webinar, because the website doesn't really generate the leads per se. You've still got to get people to the site and then turn them into leads. So it's kind of right, but I just want to put that disclaimer and say a website on its own, SEO, that can work, but the best firms will also be doing social, email, events, webinars, and other tactics to drive traffic to their website. Okay, that's my disclaimer. Let's get into the tactics that we're going to look at today. So number one, better by design. So we talked about this sealing the deal with referrals a couple of times. That due diligence. When I say, due diligence sounds like people are going to, really check things out. Most people don't do that, right? Like they're going to come to your site and go, this looks good, Jane referred me, I trust Jane. The site looks good, maybe check out check out your team page. We'll look at that in a minute. Done that, and that's how it will work. So I think having a good website design, that seems like a sort of flippant way to talk about it, but I think that's really important, is that first impression is super, super important. So the design needs to be good, doesn't need to be incredible. It's not a design contest, just needs to be good enough. First impressions do count. We all know that, right? Like a good first impression counts, and a bad first impression is hard to shake. So, obviously you don't want to look like, your website doesn't want to look like crap to new leads and first time visitors. That's the first impression of your firm, probably, and you want to make it a good one. Now, side benefits of that, nothing to do with lead generation, that I've seen when firms revamp their website, makes their team proud. Like, they're like, this is awesome, just presents a good face to the world and clients as well, right? That I think those things are kind of intangible, but they're really, they're real things. They're really important. All right. Feel the realness. What do I mean by that? Well, people crave authenticity, right? Like you look at the best people on social media, it's the people who do it really authentically, and people don't want to be marketed to or at. So what I see on the best websites is that they're really real in they put themselves into the site, and real is better than polished. Another stat to kind of back that up is that, we manage hundreds of websites for firms all over the globe. The team page is the second most viewed page after the homepage, always comes out as that. And what that tells me is that people buy from people. And so when they come to your site, you think about the relationship, the engagement that you're going to have with some of these leads, that, leads makes them sound all anonymous. These are people who you could have a connection with for 5-10 years. And you're going to intimately know their business, and they're going to trust you with all of that. They want to see who you are. So put yourself on your website, and even better, get your clients on there as well. What I'm going to do is look at some sites that have put their clients and themselves front and center on their site. So this is one of our clients in Australia, Sea Change Accounting. And what I really like, the homepage, that's Sandra, the firm owner, with some clients. So they invested in photography, really good investment. I'm going to talk about that a few times. And that's front and center on the website. Another firm here in New Zealand. We're going to come back to this one as well. look at all these pictures of their clients, really good, high quality photography of clients. You know, and you can feel this is like real people on the site. Another example, this is one that we often show in sales demos. People love this site, right? Like obviously they've used caricatures instead of photography, kind of quirky. People love this, right? Like every time I show this to people, they like that. Now, those images, I think they told me it was like $12 per image on Fiverr. It was a few years ago, but you know, super cheap. Just brings that personality to the site rather than that sea of sameness that we've talked about. So that's a kind of I think quite an easy change that you can make to your site, is bring that personality to it. Okay, so jumping back, show rather than tell, right? This is, we talked about that before. It's sales 101 to do that, right? So we might talk about that like social proof. So social proof is things like case studies, testimonials, could even be Google reviews and things like that. So I'm interested to know, you can run a quick poll. What social proof do you have on your website? So there's a few different options on this one. And so yeah, we don't have all of these on our website, actually. We do a lot on the written case studies and testimonials. We should do better on the video side. I think video ones are really, really good. I don't think that's the ultimate thing, because like some people, I'm not really a video person. I like to read stuff, but they can be really, really powerful. You know, seeing somebody saying it, it's you know, it just feels like truth when somebody's actually speaking. So that's cool. Okay, let's close that off, and we can see like most people have got majority of people have got a written testimonial on their site. Only a few got case studies, and I think case studies are really good, actually. You know, that they're we've got a guide to that. We'll send it out after the session. But the thing about case studies is follow the instructions we've got. It's a really good formula for getting them. Quite easy, makes it easier for your client. And then you can chop those up into testimonials. So it's a really leveraged thing you can do. Cool to see someone is doing video testimonials as well. No one doing Facebook reviews, just one person doing Google reviews, 40% out of anything. So highly recommend you do that. I'm going to talk about that in terms of, you know, continuing that realness theme. So lead generating websites, they show rather than tell. So like I said at the start, bad websites tell rather than show. They're like, we're awesome, we do this, we do that, our clients love us. You know, anyone can say that, right? Like, but if you get your clients to do it for you, like this site here, so I'll show you the actual website. These guys have got all these different testimonials on the page here. You know, loads of different industries, which I think is really powerful as well. So, you know, you come into the site, you can see, oh yeah, that's a business like mine. Real people, good photography, you know, just really, really powerful thing to do. We can drop that link in the chat so you can take a look at that site there. But I just think that's, you know, that's a really good one to aim at. And you can repurpose this stuff onto your social, you know, use something like Canva to make these into nice images. Use it in your sales proposals. There's so many ways these things can get used just beyond the website. But yeah, the best lead generating websites, they're always showing rather than telling. That's more powerful than any marketing copywriter can do, is what real people actually said. So jumping back onto here, the other thing you can have a look at beyond written case studies, testimonials, video is another one you could look at, but Google and Facebook reviews. So they're not strictly on your website in that you go and do them on those platforms, but they're going to help with your offsite reputation. And like Google local search is the good example of that. They show in that, and that's where I imagine most of your search traffic is coming from. But you can also embed them back into your website. So there's a free email template for asking for online reviews It's been one of our most popular templates in the playbook. Really good one to send after tax time, after a good engagement, and try and build up those reviews, because really powerful, and then you can pull them back into your website. Okay, so tactic number 4 is focus. The best sites have an opinion. They qualify people in and they qualify people out. So like the example here, be a CPA. Anyone guess what they do? It's not hard to guess, right? Like everything on there is be a, you know, the logo's hops, the name, there's a whatever you call that, brewing kettle. Like it's all about their industry, right? And if you're a brewery owner and you hit that website, you know, you've arrived in the right place. Everyone else, you're going to leave, right? Like, so that is what high-level lead qualification looks like. You know, you take an opinion and you rule people in because they strongly appeal to them, and you rule people out. And that's good because you don't want to talk to those people. So a couple of other examples of that. Wrestling Business Face. Now, this guy runs one of the best newsletters on, well, out there. Like if you follow him on LinkedIn, and he's got his accounting firm, he's based in New York, is aimed at agency owners, marketing agency owners. Now, like, you know, this is not your typical accounting website, right? Like there's a lot of humor in here. But if you come on here, you know, you're in no doubt about what the guy does. It's a really, really powerful site, really simple. You know, it doesn't look like an accounting website, which is, well, I think, the goal. But yeah, you know, it is exactly what the people who he appeals to will really appeal to them, and the people he doesn't want to work with, they're going to get out of there. Bit more traditional side. So this is one of Business clients in Australia, focused on medical practices, and you know, it just fits the customer profile. Like, you know, you don't want necessarily a super humorous site for doctors. Not saying doctors aren't funny, but probably when it comes to their finances, not so much. And they do very well with this website. So the best websites have a focus, right? Like they're really for something, and that means, you know, that they, by definition, you kind of filter out the people that they don't want to work with. Okay, so going back to our tactics, number 5, calls to action. The best lead generating websites, and this isn't just accounting, any website where you want to make money, you've got to give visitors a clear next step. So, you know, if you're on Amazon.com, buy now. If you're on an accounting firm website, there's obviously a few more steps for people buying. I have seen firms who do sign up online. Never really seen that working that well personally. I think there's usually a few calls in the way of working with a client, even if you want to vet them. You know, it would be how I would put it. So in terms of calls to action, you know, a couple of examples on there. You know, like book a callback, book a meeting, book an appointment. You know, I think the phone number's a call to action as well, kind of a call to action. You know, that's important. I think people like phone numbers, even if it's just for clients. A lot of people would probably prefer to start an engagement with an accounting firm, bookkeeping firm, with a call. So yeah, having different options for people to do that is really powerful. The one thing to avoid is maybe like too many calls to action. You kind of want your main call to action of, you know, buy offers, or like at least have a meeting to start that process, and then maybe a secondary one, which you're going to look at now, which is become a lead. You know, no one wants to become a lead, right? But like that's what you're trying to get from them. But it's somebody who's like interested later. So what we're looking at there is lead magnets. So if you don't know what they are, I'll explain that shortly. What I think about lead magnet, it's like we've got on screen here, like an ebook. It's like something that you give away in exchange for someone's details. So I'm interested to know, do a quick poll. Do you have a lead magnet on your website? So yeah, things like classic one is an ebook, could be a course. That's one that we've done well with in the past. Could be like a tool that people have to register for. So something where people have to give you their details, and you get yeah, they get the value of what you're giving them, and you get their details. So let's just run that through quickly. I would say that this is a really important part of the toolkit. Like if you want to get leads online, you've got to have something to capture people's details. So like, as only a third of you say yes, 67% no. So the reason why a lead magnet is so important, it's that timing piece that we talked about earlier. People buy when they are ready, not when you are, which is annoying, but it's a fact, right? Like there's only a tiny fraction of your visitors who are ready now, like ready now customers. And you know that, right? Like, you'll know that from running a firm. What a lead magnet does is capture the people who aren't ready now customers, but they're ready later. So they're potential people, they're prospects, right? So you get the details, and then by giving away something valuable, so like this ebook here, cash flow tips, give that away. The firm gets the email address, and then when you've got that email address captured, you can nurture that person with more emails, send them some content. We're going to talk about content in just a second. And then eventually convert them, and that's where they get to, like, they know about you, they do, they've hit your website. This part is they start to like you and they start to trust you. And when you get those three things together, then you can convert them into a paying client. So not going to go into too much detail in that. There's more in the playbook that we sent through earlier. There's a whole section on talking about ebooks and talking about lead magnets and things like that. We've got a product. I'm not trying to sell you this product, by the way. We'll drop it in the chat. Just the ebooks that we offer. It'll probably give you a good overview of kind of how these things work. So yeah, I'm not trying to sell you an ebook, but just check that out, because I think it'll probably explain well what we're trying to achieve with those things. All right, so tactic 7, simple navigation. Really easy one to run through. Get out of the way if you want people to get in touch. If people are ready now customers, and they're kind of like we just talked about, don't make them click through loads of different things, right? So like a simple navigation like this site has on it is the best. Most people, and I'm sure you know this, like most people are going to get in touch with you. They've got a bunch of questions, right? And you can't answer those questions on a website. I've seen some really horrible text-heavy accounting websites where they're trying to explain every aspect of stuff. People don't care, right? Like they want you to help them with accounting stuff, bookkeeping stuff, business stuff, because most business owners don't know what they don't know, right? And it's not a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing. And it can be a good thing, I guess, is that, you have that conversation with them and you can help them, and the stuff they don't know about, that's where you come in as an expert. I don't think you can answer all that stuff on a website. That's my take on it, is you better to get out of the way and just make it easy for people to get in touch. There is a place for depth on websites where you want more content and more information and more education. And that's what we'll have a look at next. So I'm calling this section Hidden Depths. And most of your website should be super simple, like I just said there. Keep the navigation really easy. There's one kind of place, like two places, I guess, where I'd say you've got depth. One is the blog and one is the resources that we're going to have a look at. So, in the context of lead generating websites, what's a blog going to do for you? The first thing is that it can help with your search engine ranking. So whether that's local search or niche, let's say it's niche, like that Be a CPA that we looked at. If they were blogging about, what are the 9 things that every brewer needs to do, end of financial year or whatever. I don't know. I'm just making this stuff up. But like, that's the kind of thing that if you create content about the topics that brewers might search about, or doctors, or whatever the other niches we've talked about, then you could get found, right? You could write some local content, and that might help you get found for local searches. Other lead gen things it's going to do, like the middle of the funnel. So, we talk about like the marketing funnel, people coming in at the top as leads, converting at the bottom. That bit in the middle is where a lot of leads die. So the reason for that is that people don't nurture them. And that's where having a blog can really help. So someone came in, they're interested, but they're not ready to engage you. So you got to keep them interested, send them stuff, show them you're an expert. Blog content is ideal for that. Also repurpose for social media, right? Like get your blogs on somewhere like LinkedIn or a version of them, and then you can drive traffic back to your site. So we'll drop an example in the chat. Some of our clients runs a nice blog, uses some of our content, writes some of their own. You're probably thinking, oh man, I struggle to write blogs. Like everyone does, right? Like even writers, like even our, we do marketing content, and blogging isn't easy. 3 solutions that you might find. Everyone's talking about ChatGPT. Kind of sick of it, but like it could help you get some ideas down. Make sure that, I mean, I guess the thing I'd say is ChatGPT can maybe get you 80% of the way there, tops, maybe less. But if you know what you're doing, you know what you want to write about, it could get you unblocked, get the kind of bones of a blog post there, and then you still have to do that sort of 20 or 30% on top. Could hire a writer, plenty of freelance writers out there. Or a specialist agency like BizInc. We give a lot of blogs to clients on business accounting topics. But yeah, I think pretty much every site I've seen that gets a lot of leads, they've got some really good content on their blog that's really aimed at the kind of ideal client that they're trying to close. Okay, jumped ahead. Let's go back to the resource library. So if your website's just an online brochure, which it is for a lot of firms, a resource library can elevate it. And all it is a collection of useful content and tools for your clients and your prospects. It's like, we'll drop a link in the chat for one that we create for all of our clients. So like, the quick way, hire us. The DIY way is, find articles that help your client and prospects, write them, similar to blogs. Add things like useful stuff that people can use rather than just read is great. So for example, a cash flow forecast template, something like that is awesome. Business plan template, that kind of thing. So why would you do this? Maybe this is less a play for new leads, although it is great for that middle of funnel stuff that I talked about. You can nurture people and send them useful stuff. I kind of see this more as like, it's a play to get more work from existing clients. Because if you turn your website into something useful that you can get clients back to, maybe from your newsletter or whatever, they've got that reason to go there, and then that can start conversations, and conversations lead to more work. So I see it as like a really good resource to keep clients sticky and maybe sell more to them. And if you do a resource library really well, you could gate some of the high value content. So what I mean by gating is like, ask for an email address, basically like the lead magnet kind of thing we talked about before. It's another thing that you could potentially do if you've got really good content. All right, so last tactic, SEO. Now, I hate talking about SEO for accountants because it's such a massive topic. It's totally misunderstood. Even SEO people just argue about it all the time, what actually works and what doesn't. But it is true to say that lead generating websites do get traffic from search engines, and they convert that into leads. So without going on for hours on this, because you could, my biggest advice to you would be, we wrote a guide specifically for accountants about SEO. We'll drop the link in the chat. There's a lot of information in there. I hope it gives you kind of at the right level. But my main advice would be, you shouldn't be doing SEO, right? Just like I shouldn't be let loose on my bookkeeping. What you got to try and find if you want to really optimize your search engine side of things really is an ethical agency that specializes in accountants. So not we'll get you to #1 in Google in a week type people who are probably spamming you all the time, but someone who really specializes in accountants and understand that it's not like e-commerce. Because even some, I'd say, ethical agencies who we see and they work with accountants, they don't quite get that, just getting the traffic there, it's not like going to be like a sale on the website. There's a lot more to that marketing and sales funnel, as with accountants and bookkeepers. It's a lot longer. And so SEO isn't always the best tactic. But something you can do today, I want to give you something you can do today, is Google My Business audit, right? So Google My Business, like when you do a local search, that's the listing that appears a lot of firms we find their listing could be easily optimized and they could be losing traffic that way. Most of your searches are probably local, so it's really worth doing this. It's easy to fix up, and it's quite leveraged because it's also where you get reviews. Someone looked at those reviews, that's all goes together. And Google say it's not part of their ranking, firms who've got a load of reviews, but in my experience and talking to firm owners who do, they reckon they do really well out of that. So take a look at that. It's really easy type of thing that you could do today. Okay, so before we move on to the last part, I'm going to do a teardown of the pilot website. You should get a free, take our free website audit, right? Like, drop the link in the chat. It's super easy to do. All we need is your website domain, and a real person will go and look at your website. They'll write up a report, and they'll give you the bad stuff, but they'll give you the good stuff too. And that's what people like. We're not just there to kind of, point out a load of, you get these SEO people who email you with all this kind of technical garbage that doesn't make any sense. It's not going to help you anyway. This is just like real stuff. Like, hey, it'd be good if you had testimonials on your site. Hey, it's great that you have got a newsletter, that kind of thing. So it's real simple, low friction thing for you to do. And it's built on what we've learned from, building, 1,500 plus websites for accountants and bookkeepers in the last decade. And it's free. Did I mention that? So there's no reason why you shouldn't do it. All right. So we're going to have a look at a teardown of the pilot website. That's not the pilot website there. Should have changed that image out. Never mind. What pilot is let's jump on the website here. So pilot is bookkeeping for growth businesses, famous because it got $100 million US funding round led by Jeff Bezos of Amazon, and got a $1.2 billion valuation in 2021, which maybe isn't that anymore. I don't know, but yeah, so made a lot of noise. And a lot of firms we talk to love this website, right? They really, really like this website. So I'm thinking, great one to do a teardown of, and let's look at it through the lens of those 10 tactics that I shared. So number one, first impressions, the design. I think it's a good design. It's a nice, simple, clear design, lacking a bit of personality, in my opinion. It just feels a bit like a standard tech site. Now, given that their ideal client is tech businesses, then maybe that's okay. But I would personally like to see a bit more humans in here, right? Like, I think that illustration's a bit cliche. It doesn't really do a lot. It's taking up a lot of real estate on the page. Doesn't do a lot to sell anything to me. I'd rather see more stuff like, these pictures of their customers are really small. Like, I'd be making those a lot bigger. I'd be getting a video, up there of someone talking about that. I mean, that's okay, that these rating sites, but I think real people are more powerful than, kind of a star rating. So I think it's a good first impression, but they'd be my tweaks to make it a little bit better. And feel the realness. That's my second tactic that I talked about. I think that's where I feel like this site personally is quite lacking. It feels like what it is like an online service, and while that might be true, I think they could do more to be like show the people behind the business. Even on the customers page, you go through to that, and it's logos, right? Which I get. I kind of get it, because they're trying to sell to business, and that will impress maybe some of the people who aspire to be those businesses. But I'd just be highlighting a bit more people on there personally. So show rather than tell. That's the next thing that I wanted to talk about, next tactic. And they do that obviously here, but again, that's the part I would be emphasizing. They do that on the homepage as well. So I think it's about a 7 out of 10 for that. Now, in terms of focus, pretty good, right? Pilot provides, we've got it here. Pilot provides accounting, CFO, and tax services for startups and growing businesses. I'd possibly be more specific in that, growing businesses. I mean, pretty much everyone says they're a growing business, right? So what does that mean? Actually, if you go to solutions, they've got startups, consumer goods and retail, and professional services. So it goes into more detail there. I would say that here, you know, if that's who you work with, put it there. And what I quite liked what they did with their testimonials to back that up is you can filter that down by the different industries. So that was quite good. Actually, it's quite a good way of doing it that, you know, could, like the client here that we showed, and maybe they could do that. You know, they got enough that maybe that would work quite well. So, so pretty good. You know, they got lots of customer stories, but in terms of niching down a little bit more, yeah, maybe could be clearer on the homepage exactly who they're for. Calls to action, pretty good, right? Like talk to an expert, way better call to action than book a consultation, which you see on lots of firm sites, which is kind of boring, you know. They've also got a lead magnet here, which we'll talk about in a sec, which is really aimed at that tech found kind of ideal client profile. So that's really good. Notice the buttons are different colors, so you're not confusing the calls to action. So that's pretty good. I like that, and I like that question. How much should you be paying yourself as a founder? You know, like create some you know, tension there, and people are like, oh yeah, am I getting paid enough? And like, so that's a really powerful call to action in terms of more the text than the button itself. But yeah, you know, you start thinking, oh yeah, shit, God, people love comparing themselves and all of that. So I thought that was pretty powerful what they've done there. So yeah, what we've got here is you know, these are ready now leads. These are people who are ready to engage, and these are ready later people who are like, you know, not ready to necessarily buy, but doing some investigation, doing some research, and that's pretty powerful. So I thought that was quite good. Maybe what I'd add in there would be, what's the benefit of talking to an expert? Like, what am I going to get from that? I would like to see that, you know, talk to an expert and get blah, 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 like that. That would be quite powerful. So my next tip was like simple navigation. It's pretty simple navigation. You know, it's clear, most of it. The only thing I don't like is products and solutions. Like products, kind of all right, like, but solutions, it's just tech speak, like marketing speak, right? Like what I would probably write that as would be what we do and who we help. You know, who we help, it's more personal. Solutions, kind of, what does that mean? Pretty good in navigation. You know, it definitely is a clear site for usability, so can't fault it on that aspect. Blog and resources. So they've got a whole resources tab, and I think this is awesome. I think this is one of the best bits of the site. So they've got that founder salary report in there. They've got a blog, which is categorized really well, actually. So they've got, you know, nice categories in there. And yet it's clearly aimed at their ideal client, all this kind of stuff. I think they do the focus bit better in the blog and these resources better than they do on the homepage. And then there's a good mix of like static resources like this, like you read, and interactive stuff like the burn rate calculator. You know, most people don't care about burn rate and runway. Startups, like, it's a key thing that they measure when they've been funded. So really relevant, and you know, it's a nice simple tool that people can use there. Didn't notice that earlier, actually. I subscribed to our blog popping up. That's cool, actually. That's really good. So that's like a sort of second level call to action, lead generating type thing. That's pretty powerful. And then final thing I want to have a look at is search engine stuff. So it's hard to know this from the outside without looking at analytics, but I did a bit of a comparison which kind of shows them against their competitor, bench.co. Been around a bit longer, very similar thing. You know, then I don't know, they're doing that well against them. So you look at Bench, they've got over 500,000 visits to like 60,000 for pilots. So, you know, big difference. And I put in another couple of like similar services to kind of give a bit of context to it as well. So yeah, like I looked at that, and then you can look at where that traffic's coming from, look in terms of SEO, and you can see that they do okay in terms of direct traffic, but in terms of search traffic, they're way down there, right? Like they're getting really for 4,000 search visits versus like nearly 250,000 for bench. So I think, I don't specifically know what terms they're searching for. We'd have to do a lot more trying to rank for, to do some more research, but it's quite interesting to do that comparison. Doing that, not going to do a full teardown on the bench side, but I think it's interesting to compare a similar business, kind of very similar site, right? Like if you look at it, it's almost the same site, all the same kind of elements to it. A few things I think these guys do better. Really strong headline, I think. You run your business, we'll handle your finances. Maybe I like that because it's like one that we do, but I think they explain what they do better. Like, but it's really kind of clear. What I really like is to start the free trial, no credit card required. Try before you buy, really powerful. And a phone number as well adds a bit of trust there. Online services, people are like, oh, I want to talk to a real person. I think that is a good thing to have on there. I also like the fact they've got more photos. I mean, these are stock photos, which isn't great, but these are real people, right? And they've got that throughout the site. It's like just a bit more of that realness. Chatbots is quite good. I thought that popped up for me earlier. I like chatbots on accounting websites because it's like people who they're a warm lead, but then a hot lead. So like not going to call you, but you just want to answer a few questions. It's quite a nice way to do that anonymously without having to fill in a web form. So I think that's a good first step. Quite easy to have that on a site. But a lot of stuff's the same, right? Like the testimonials, the resources, the blog, the simple menu, a lot of that stuff's the same. So there's obviously a like formula for this stuff, and hopefully that's what I've outlined to you. So in summary of the kind of the teardown, like we don't know how many leads these sites are really getting, but a lot of the best practices are being done. Definitely room for some improvement, like there is for any website, but I think they're really good examples to take inspiration from. And so we'll throw those links in the chat for you. All right, so keen to know what you learned, actually. Hopefully something, what you found useful. If you fire that into the chat, I'd love to know, just as we're wrapping things up and moving into the questions. So if you've got any questions for me, fire them into that Q&A, and I'll be happy to answer those for you. But yeah, I'm really keen to know if there was a takeaway that you got from today, anything you'd like me to have covered, let me know in the chat. Just do a quick poll. If you'd like a call from someone at BizInc about improving your website, just let us know. It's anonymous on this side, and then we'll have your details and we'll give you a call. Don't forget to do that website audit. And also that playbook that we shared earlier, there's a ton of free resources in there. A lot of them related to websites, checklists, guides. There's like content you can use on your website. So really worth checking that stuff out. All right, cool. So we won't share that poll, but we'll just close that off in a second. And I'm going to stick around for some questions. Thanks, Laurie. Very real and no BS. That's what I'm aiming for. We've done this a lot. We've done this for many years, and that's what we're basing this stuff on, So there's no silver bullets when it comes to marketing, but like a lot of like little things can add up to a bigger thing. I'm just reading the book Atomic Habits, and he talks about that a lot. Marginal gains, which was the Sky British cycling team who came up with that. Turns out they're also using a lot of drugs as well, but I'm not advocating that. Just do the marketing stuff that I say. So all right, cool. Some questions coming in. Question from Robert is, what can a startup do about social proof? That's an awesome question, actually. So I guess a few things you can do. I've been going through this with another business I'm involved in. If you're like straight out of school, then that's kind of hard, but have you worked in another firm? Is there some way to get some like feedback from somebody in a kind of a bit more indirect way? That's one way you could do it. Another one would be, you know, maybe there's someone like the vendors or partners that you work with who you trust. Could be like a referral partner or something like that. I mean, in short, it's hard, right? Like, you've just got to get to your first 10 clients, which is something I'd really like to run a webinar on, because it's kind of different than what you do after that. You got to hustle and do a few kind of things that you might not do otherwise. But I think that, you know, talk about your experience, talk about, you know, those kind of things, bring that realness to it, and until you can get stuff from clients that you've won. So yeah, I think it's a bit of a tough one, but I guess my answer would be, is there anything you can do from your past career that you can use in a kind of like a bit of a fudged way? Or yeah, bring that realness to it so people trust you in a different way before you've got client feedback. All right, we've got other ones. Oh, what chat system would I recommend for a website? There's lots of them out there. You know, I'm not really over that anymore. I used to recommend a few different ones. I mean, we use HubSpot Chat, which is pretty good. I think Drift is quite good. Zendesk Chat. Honestly, I think most of them do pretty much the same thing. So the one that I do like is one that you can turn off if you're not there, you know, so set yourself up to away, so that, yeah, people aren't like trying to chat to you when you're not there. So the ones that hide it. But yeah, Drift, HubSpot, but what was the other one I said? I've forgotten. There's loads out there. I think if you Google it, there'll be lots of different ones. I feel like they all do the same kind of thing, but maybe we'll try and research that and have a look afterwards. Few people, question we often get asked is like, what's the best website platform to use? And what I'd say there is the one that works for you best, and kind of the same with the chat system, kind of the same with a lot of this stuff, email marketing. We build our sites on top of WordPress, which is, you know, that's the most popular website platform in the world. And with that comes like a lot of flexibility and adaptability. But I think that, you know, you can do this stuff on most website platforms. So it's like whatever works for you best is what I would advocate for. Stan's asking what client hub or portal for saving documents would I recommend. I honestly am not best placed to do that. We've stayed clear of that kind of stuff. So I think it's a great thing to have attached to your website as like, you know, a link that jumps off to it. It's a long time since I used to be a product manager for one of those, to be fair, but like, it's a long time since I paid any attention to those. So it would be remiss of me to start recommending to you, but I don't know, maybe someone else can fire one into the chat or something like that, for ones that they find useful. I've got time for one more question if there's any more coming in. If not, thanks very much for coming along. I hope you found that useful. We'll be sending out a recording and a bunch of those links in an email. If you want us to like take a look at your website, remember the website audit takes like, you know, no time. You're just going to give us your domain, your email address, and we'll send that report to you. Super useful. And check out that playbook as well. There's loads of great resources there. And if you want help building a lead generating website, you know where we are. We can put the demo link into the chat there. Book some time. You can speak to one of the website experts at BizInc, and we can help you put together a website like some of the ones I've been showing you today. So we'll wrap up there. Thanks heaps for coming along. Really appreciate you taking the time.